When you start your business, no one ever prepares you for what's in store. So, finding someone else who just gets it is sometimes the thing that can keep you pushing toward that big business goal.
We're turning our Zoom coffee chats into a weekly, unfiltered podcast for online business owners. They were so good, we always wanted to record them and repurpose them for content, anyways. And that's on being a social media manager.
I'm Jessica Sheehy.
And I'm Madeleine Digan, and this is
#managed. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of #managed. Hey, Madeline. How's it going? How was your weekend?
It's going good. It's been a pretty good week so far. I'm leaving tomorrow to go back home to Indiana to celebrate my best friend's 30th birthday, so that will be fun. And then this weekend, I know I said I was gonna go see It It Ends With Us. I didn't. So
Mm-hmm.
I am going this weekend. I am. But so what did I do this weekend? I feel like I actually recorded or well, I did record my weekend, but I actually like put together a reel. So I did some yoga, but other than that, it was a pretty chill weekend.
Mm-hmm.
How are you? How's your week? How was your weekend?
I'm good. I'm good. My week has been very full. It feels August is just a very full month, and I don't know. It's just I feel like with so many things are happening, we're like kind of getting out of summer. Like, a lot of people are like doing final like holidays and back to school, but also like I don't know, it just feels like a big like hustle month. I don't even know if that like makes sense, but it just feels like so much is going on. So I'm trying to keep up, but I'm also like in the same time like going through the move. So I just feel like it feels more chaotic just because of that as well. So we finalized everything with our move. Like we put a lot of things like in the storage pod and that's now gone, which just feels great that it's just one thing kind of checked off the list. And I feel like that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm checking one thing off at a time, like going through day by day, and eventually I will like my head will come up above water from this like hustle chaotic time. But other than that, the weekend was good. I also did some yoga as well because if you guys listened a couple weeks ago, I'm now like a yoga class girly, which I actually really like it. It's heated yoga and it's like a great workout, but it's just such a great hour like of my day that I'm like this is good. And it's so funny because I know I talked about it last week, but I'm like noticing such big changes in like the way I like to work out. Like I've never been like a group workout or like, like I would do like a yoga flow at home because
Mhm.
I used to like, of course, like love Peloton and like do it on the Peloton app and like obviously like a couple of other apps as well. But I just used to be like a real like self-guided like person who could work out, but now I'm not. So that's just like such a really funny like shift that I think I've like gone through. But it was so good. And I think it was so funny because I went to like an early morning class on Saturday and Ryan ended up coming with me. And so we kind of like share a car now. So like, if we're trying to like do something, we have to coordinate or. And so he came with me and so he didn't go to the yoga class. So I haven't gotten him to a class yet, but I'm gonna work on it. I don't know how successful I'll be, and it probably will take me months to do it, but he will go. Um, but then he went to like a coffee shop, and I'm like, I always am like asking him, like, can we just go to a coffee shop and like sit and like drink? Well, neither of us drink coffee now, so it's so funny. Like, we'll just go drink like matcha or tea or something, or like, can we like work or do something? And he's always like, no, no. So the fact that he like wanted to do that on his own, I'm like, we're evolving, we're changing. So,
We are also for our new listeners, I'm convinced we are married to like the same man or the same type of man because I'm very similar and that is like my ideal date. Let's just go to a coffee shop, do some work, like
mhm.
read,
Yeah,
maybe journal.
yeah,
And when we first moved down here, Brennan would do it occasionally with me, and he's not opposed. It's just
mhm.
he would rather stay home, and I'm like,
Yeah,
let's go
yeah.
do something."
Yes. No, I agree. It was very similar. And even before we hit record, I know we're very similar in this because of what you shared that. Brennan did as well, a little self-sabotage to the podcast, but I'll let Madeline share that story. But then we also went to Ryan is a part of, may I add, multiple fantasy leagues, and I'm a
Mhm.
part of zero and he's in multiple. And so fantasy football, obviously for the NFL coming up, we're a sports podcast, so we report on those kind of things. And so it was like an in-person like draft, and it's so funny because they all take it so seriously and it has to be in person. Like people who don't even live in the Tampa area anymore have to fly in. I'm like,
Oh,
this is
oh.
yes, yes, you cannot dial in remote. It's very serious. There's a lot at stake. There's like a lot of money like in the
Oh,
pot,
yeah.
and so
Oh,
I
yeah.
I get it, and I'm like, okay, I want that payday, so
Yeah.
win, but yeah.
No, okay, so that's so funny. So what Jessica was talking about too, so my microphone before we hit like it wasn't working and similar, they take it very seriously, but so the one league that Brennan's also in multiple leagues as well, but the one that's like the big money and
Hmm.
they've talked about doing it in person. So I think watch next year it will become a thing. Because I've been through out there, I was like, "You guys should, like, do this in Vegas," because selfishly, I was like, "I wanna come, like, just for, like,
Hmm.
the food and
Yeah.
the drinks." Um, and he was like, "No, no, 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 Madeline, like, no, no, no," and I was like, "Okay, I mean, you do you." But where I was going with that is that he decided to they do it remote, so his best friend who started the whole league honestly maybe 10 plus years ago. He lives out
Hmm.
in San Diego. So we're dealing with different time zones. So they started
Hmm.
it at 9 o'clock our time. It
Oh
went
my
until I
gosh.
think like 1 a.m. maybe. But
Hmm.
he decided he had to have the podcast microphone. I'm like, no, you don't. Like, but since they do it over like Zoom or whatever,
Yeah.
they'll wear funny stuff. Like he has this crystal necklace. Like it is I'll post it in the newsletter. I'm gonna make a note
Hmm.
of it. But like, cause I do have some crystals. Like again, we all know like
Hmm.
I'm Lou, but this
Hmm.
one I secretly think he got it to make fun of me or poke fun, but he like does take it very seriously. He was because there was a full moon the
Hmm.
other night and he's like, "Do I need to recharge it?" And I was like, "Well, technically, yeah, but
Hmm.
I didn't know
Yeah.
you were
Oh, I love
that
that.
deep into that, but okay."
Mhm. Isn't it funny, like, like things? I feel like I'm always like, and I feel like you've shared too, like you're the same way. Like I'm always trying to like get Ryan to do something, or like show him something, or get him like to, I don't know, try something, and it has to be his own idea. Like he
Oh,
has to
oh
get
yeah.
to it on his own way. So like if it's anything fantasy, like football related, it's like everything's on the on the playing field because it's like anything to win, I think that's a sports
Yeah,
thing though, just to bring in that
right.
good luck. So that's so funny. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Well, Madeline, do you want to kick us off with your report this week, since we are bouncing it back, and have you kick off this week?
Yes. Okay, so for reading this week, I have 7 pages left in The Alchemist. Highly, highly recommend. You, Harmony, all our listeners, this is definitely going to be one that I add to my 30 books every entrepreneur should read that will hopefully be posted, by the end of this year.
Hmm.
But on it's so good. It's definitely in my top 10 books right now. So what I'm reading next though is going to be Dare to Lead by Brene Brown. So I just thought I would share that.
Oh,
Have
so
you read
good.
that one?
So yes, so good. I
Okay.
read it, I think early last year, but really, really good. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that gets me even more excited. Then for eating, okay, stick with me here. This might sound a little weird because when Brennan first like put it out there, I was like, I don't know about this, but okay. It's a cheeseburger quesadilla, and we've been
Mm.
having them for the past, like, few weeks, and so what it is, it's hamburger meat, but, like, you season it with, like, mustard, Horshire, is that right? The Horshire?
Horseradish? Horseradish?
No,
No?
no.
Oh, 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 I know what you're
What's it
saying.
called? What's
Wait,
it called?
Worcestershire?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, okay, I was completely wrong, but yes.
Yep.
Um, and so but then you just, like you take that meat, you can, like, pickles, mustard, and it's, like, in a quesadilla.
Mhm.
So it's pretty much
Ooh,
it's like a
yeah,
hamburger, but it's a quesadilla, and I love quesadillas and I love hamburgers, so I
yeah,
was like, "Okay."
yeah.
So that's what I've been hyperfixating on. And then for playing, obviously, Emily in Paris. There were some other things that I've watched too. Like, I guess I should have an honorary mention because it was in Harmony's report last week that we put in the newsletter, which is Love is Blind UK. So good.
Mhm,
So many thoughts. I'll be posting about that in our stories. So let's chat
mhm,
about it. And then obsessing over I am currently obsessing over fall fashion, but more
mhm.
specifically, Oxford blood red nails. So, like, this, like, yummy, like, wine red,
Mm,
that's for sure what I'm gonna do next on my nails. And
yeah.
then tweed, like, tweed, like, dresses, skirts, jackets, and currently Abercrombie& and Fitch, like, has so many I do this thing, I'll add it all to my cart, never click, like, check out because I'm just like, "We don't have the funds for that right now, Madeline. No, we do not."
Mhm,
But we're manifesting it. I love tweed too because if you know me, like, my personal style is very I would say, like, classic, the coastal I like coastal auntie more so than the coastal grandma, where it's, like, the chic
mhm.
grandma. Anyways,
Yeah.
so that's what I'm obsessing over. Then recommending. So, kinda similar to what you were saying last week with your signature scent, but I am currently on the hunt of finding an everyday lippy, like a signature color,
Mm.
and
Okay.
I have a Nordstrom's gift card burning a hole in my pocket, and when I
Mhm,
go home to Indy, we have a Nordstrom, so I think I'm gonna take myself to Nordy to find because 'cause I'm a red lip kinda girl, but I feel like I need a fall red lip, but I also need just like a subtle red lip for everyday wear, not too
mhm.
bold. So
Yeah,
anyways,
yeah.
and then for treating, I'm going to be treating my best friend Allie to a sushi date night for her 30th birthday. So I'm excited about that.
Ooh. Yeah, yeah. Ooh, I love that. Okay. All good things. All good things. And now I really need to add The Alchemist to my reading list because it's one of those books. I know you mentioned this, like it's one of those books like if you're new to
Mhm.
reading or not, you've probably have heard of it or seen it like on someone's Instagram stories. So I need to read it because I've heard just really, really good things about
And
it.
it's a quick read. It's a quick read.
Yes. Yeah, which is good too, especially if you are like not really a reader or if you're in a
Mhm.
reading slump, which we all like fall into that. So, okay, that is so good. So I finally finished The Last Mrs. Parrish, which is the sequel in that series. And I have to say, it was good, but do you ever read a book and you're like, "Ooh, it could have just been like one book. It didn't really need a
Mm.
sequel."
Mhm.
Like, I feel like that's how I felt with the 3rd book for The
Yes.
Housemaid. It's like
Mm.
The Housemaid's Secret, I think, and then the most recent one that just came out was, like, The Housemaid is Watching,
Watching. Mhm.
and I liked them all because I love a Frida McFadden novel any day, but it was good. It was a quick it was an easy read. It wasn't a quick read because it took me forever to get
Mm.
through it because I'm slowly getting back into a good reading like rhythm. So I finished it. I would say it's good if you want a book that you can read quickly and check off your list. And if you did read the first one, I do think it makes sense to read the second one. I just feel like it didn't add anything that I thought was like wow, to the
W
story. I hope that makes sense.
what would you give the rating out of a 5?
Ooh, so I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5.
Okay.
And I feel confident in like the whole number, but I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5 because again, I think it wasn't I think I've read far worse this year. I think the writer, I know it's two sisters who write it. And I think their writing style is great. I love the first story. So for that reason, I think I would add a 3. I can't give it a 4 or 5 because it wasn't really like, wow, this was so, so good. I need to tell everyone I know to go buy
Mm.
it right away. So that's like my reading scale. But now on my reading list, I just downloaded it yesterday when I finished the last book, but I'm gonna read John Stamos's celebrity memoir.
Ugh,
Have you read that?
mm-mm, but I
Okay.
know that beginning of the year, like, we both are very
Yep.
into memoir okay, I love
Yeah.
and I
I
love Uncle Jesse, like,
Yes.
ugh.
Yes. Yeah. So I've heard really good things about it. So I'm excited to read that one. Next up on eating. So I feel like I always like fixate on something and I always fixate on this. So I need to go back and reference if I've mentioned it before. And if I haven't, that's absolutely wild because it's my favorite snack ever. Maybe we did it for another blog post we did for the Savvy Edit. So you can always kind of go read any like good food recs over there, but I'm putting hummus, and more particularly, there's a brand I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's local to Miami, so it's kind of in like our Florida like Publix is, but it's called Miami Twist Hummus. So I think I'm going out on the right limb for that. But they have a really fun brand on social media, so that is like where I first saw it. I'm pretty sure I saw like an ad for it, but then when I was actually in store and I was going to find the typical like hummus I pick up, they didn't have it, and I was really bummed about that. But then I saw this one, and the packaging is so bright and pastelly and girly and
Oh,
so
wait, this
fun.
is so cute,
Yes, yes. So
and
I'm like, okay, I'm here
they
for a fun
don't
brand.
yes, they are local, they are made in Miami, and, like, they don't have any
Mhm,
followers, okay? I feel like
mhm.
sponsorship opportunity here. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, no, I love it. I love it. No, I agree. I agree. So it's really really good. On playing, I of course am going to put in an honorary mention for Emily in Paris because part 1 of season 4 was just so good. I feel like I stumbled upon Emily in Paris and I know it really like blew up like kind of a little bit after it came out,
Mhm.
but I remember like I put it on. I'm like, okay, I don't know if this is going to be like honestly, I think I thought, I don't think this is going to be a great series. And I was hooked, like instantly. And I think this season is so good. So we have, Madeline and I know we're really touching on it really quickly, but we have more thoughts to come. So stay tuned
Yes.
because there's something coming with our thoughts around Emily in Paris. So for obsessing over, this is so funny, but I don't know if you've seen this, but and I'm not typically like, okay, so I'm obsessing over, have you seen on TikTok like Logan who makes these cucumbers? Like he slices
Yes,
them really.
yes, and I've been wanting to try it, but I
Okay.
haven't.
So I when I came into when we moved into town, my sister and her boyfriend made like more like an Asian recipe with the cucumbers. So it was like, I don't remember specifically, and I could try to find it if I need to link it in. Um
Okay.
but it was really really good, and honestly like the other day after yoga I was like, I am craving Logan's cucumbers. I need to go home and make them, and I did immediately. So it's so good. So if you've seen the recipe like on TikTok, or because there's so many variations, which I think
Mhm.
is so fun. So yeah, obsessing over, there's good as you would expect, and a great like snack. I feel like good
Mm.
snack, honestly, if you make enough, a great meal, to be honest.
Mhm. Okay.
Um, and so next up, recommending, I think this goes perfectly with today's topic, but recommending in-person networking. I know we talked about it last week, how I was headed to an in-person networking event, and obviously we'll recap that when we get into the topic, but I'm just really recommending it if you've never gone to one, if you've been thinking about it, if you haven't gone to one in a while, I really recommend it. So we'll talk more once we get deeper into this episode. And finally, for treating, I already treated myself to this, and it's kind of small, but sometimes I think we need to treat ourselves for like in small things. You know, it doesn't need to
Mhm.
be a big extravagant thing. And I think we do a good job of kind of touching on, you know, small and big and medium treats. But I treated myself to a pumpkin coconut candle. And I wanted to say that anything coconut is like my go-to. Like I'm automatically going to be drawn to like a lotion or a candle or soap or something that has anything coconut in it. And it's so hot in Florida that I'm like, I need a glimmer of, and I think Harmony said it best, faux fall. So that is like what I'm going for with my little pumpkin candle. And that's my weekly report.
I love that. I I want that. I wish there was like a scratch and sniff. I wanna smell the pumpkin coconut
Ooh.
cause that's like that is a good faux fall where it's like it's summer, but it's fall. I like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
cool.
Yep. Perfect. Should we get into this week's water cooler?
Yes. Yes, and I thought, oh yeah, okay, here it is. It's like I had it pulled up, but where was it? Okay. This week, this week's water cooler says or asks, help and advice. How can I get my clients' Explore page to be more aligned? They are a spa and the content on the Explore page is so random. Do you wanna kick it off?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
perfect.
I think for when I saw this one, I'm like, okay, this is a really quick fix. And I know Madeline will elaborate more kind of on her take on this as well, especially with her really having a good background with beauty and spas and salons. But honestly, Instagram works based off your interests. And that is probably the easiest way I could sum up how the algorithm just works. And I know sometimes we hear the word algorithm and we're kind of scared of like what that means and if we're going to be able to see content, if people can see our content. But if your client is a spa and you're managing their Instagram account, you want to make sure that you're honestly connecting, and I say connecting, but just engaging with, following people who makeup and would make up your like spa clientele. So I think a few things that kind of come to mind. Like first thing immediately is I'm like, okay, spa, brick and mortar, physical location. What town are you located in? Are you located in a small town, a big city? There's people, so many people, whether you're in a small town, who use Instagram. You can connect with other like local businesses, maybe in the same strip plaza, maybe in the same like block, maybe in the same zip code that you're located in. So there's so many local accounts that you can immediately start connecting with. I think beyond that, who are your typical spa like clientele? Like, what are the services that you offer? Finding them on social media is so important. And then I think, again, you can really lean into the just spa and like health and wellness. So, connecting with other people, other spa owners who are sharing similar content, and really creating an explore page that is full of people that you want to connect with, whether it's industry connections, future clientele, your current clientele that you want to bring in, or like local people that are
Mm,
inside. And I think a few ways that you can do that is maybe it requires a cleanup of who your client, maybe if you just came in and your client's following a lot of random people, if they use it for personal reasons, just clean it up and slowly start following and engaging with and attracting those people to like really build your own explore page. And it won't take long for Instagram to catch on and know like, okay, this is the content that they want to see,
mhm.
and they'll adjust.
Yeah. No, I agree with all of that, and just to add on to the engagement part, I would say being mindful with what content you're engaging with. So, it might be tempting to like and comment on content that you yourself like, but maybe it doesn't align per se with the spa. So, like, try and it's almost like you're switching personalities in a way or in a
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think that that's all I would say is just being mindful of who you're following and engaging with. So everything you said.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I think then you can really create an explore page that is, to use the words in the water cooler, not so random. And you can really kind of play off on that end. So I hope that's helpful. And that works too. I think it goes without saying that works for any industry, any client
Mhm.
who's selling any product. any service, any location. It's a really good way to kind of curate it.
And the one I lied, there's one other thing, especially for the spa industry, um, going and following the products that you sell in the spa or salon, because you'd be surprised, like, building those relationships with those social media marketers, managers too, and maybe even adding them. I know we talked about this on a few, maybe 2 episodes ago, about how I'll toggle between who I'm following in my favorites. And when I mentioned the favorites, I didn't mention the favorites on the podcast, but that was happened in our DMs, which I shared. And one of our listeners was talking or saying how she she made a list of the accounts that she makes sure to engage with each week. And I was like, oh, you should definitely add these accounts to your favorite feature so that it's easier, that you're not constantly going back to that list. So you could always add those like products, those vendors to that favorites list. And so even using those type of features with like creating a close friends group, adding to your favorites, that is also going to help train the algorithm, I believe, as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think that pairs so beautifully with kind of what you mentioned in that previous episode, with really making Instagram like learn, because I think,
Mhm.
I think that's one thing. And I know we got into this on our planning call, so I won't even mention any buzzwords around it, but that's like the whole thing with AI, right? And
Mm.
Instagram's algorithm is an AI, like it is a machine that is like constantly learning, and it only learns based off of what you put into it. And so you really have like a lot of, you know honestly, there's a lot of like great value that you can get out of that, from by what you put into it. Like you can really get out of it. And honestly, this sounds like such a really simple concept, by curating those like different close friends lists and following feeds and favorite feeds, and like and engaging with and curating your explore page. But honestly, sometimes those simple things like really, I want to use the word like fix an Instagram account for a client. Because I mean, how many times have we worked with a client and their account is, maybe it was mismanaged, maybe it was managed by some random front desk associate who didn't even want to do social media in the first place. And this is just one of those simple ways that you can come in and get like a really quick fix for a really high reward of, okay, now I'm actually going to be shown content that I can engage with when you're doing like a little engagement hour or time frame that you're on Instagram. So I think it's a really simple concept, but something that we can all kind of do when we're working with a new client's account and getting in. And it's one thing too that the last thing I'll add, if you get into a client's account, like when you first start and you look at the explore page, it really tells you, we were talking about this on our planning call with Harmony, it really tells you a lot about either A, your client, or B, like how that account has been used prior. So if a client is like,
Mhm.
hey, like I'm not driving any traffic to my website, I'm not getting any sales, I'm not getting any people to book, it's like, well, you're sharing and promoting your business, but you're like connecting with like your high school friends or
Mm.
like someone random on the DM. So it's just, it kind of helps you really learn more and learn everything you need to know when you jump in the account.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my
Oh my
goodness.
goodness.
We could keep going on about that too, but we'll save that for like a more like unfiltered setting when we can
Yeah.
share a little bit more.
Okay. Should we move on to on our feed? On my feed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
What is on
Okay.
your feed?
So on my feed is actually something that, honestly, I think they launched it yesterday. Like I don't think this was something I had
Okay.
saved for a while. So one thing I really love, I love Glow Recipe. I'm a huge fan of their products. Love their packaging.
You've mentioned that, like, them
Yeah.
quite a few times.
Yes,
Okay.
I love them. If you didn't know, Glow Recipe also was on Shark Tank, like, way back when as well. I don't know specifically if it was, like, I think whoever shark they went with, or if they didn't, I can't even remember, so I'm so sorry if I'm butchering that story, but, they rebranded since then, and so anyway, it's really evolved into a really cool brand. Like, absolutely love them as a consumer, but they just launched a broadcast channel on Instagram. And I don't know why, but broadcast channels have been around for a really long time, but in the past couple of weeks, I've noticed so many brands and influencers and creators leveraging a broadcast channel. Would you agree, Madeline?
Yep, yep. And why I find that interesting too is because on threads, I saw this one thread, and I'll try and find it, but it was kind of on it was from another social media manager, and she's like, "No, I don't wanna join your broadcast channel," because even I have one, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I created it because I wanted to have it, and
Mhm.
when I first started it, I had my initial strategy, but it's honestly I've kind of fallen off it,
Mhm.
where I just haven't seen a good strategy. So I'm excited to hear more about this and how they're using the broadcast channel because yes, I would
Yeah.
agree that I have seen more influencers and more brands hopping on it lately.
Yeah. Yeah. So I will say, so the name of theirs, I think, is one so cute. I'm a sucker for any fun pun or any extension of a brand in this way. So it's called Do Tell, DEW, Tell. How cute. And so obviously their products help you achieve like a dewy complexion, dewy skin.
Mhm.
And it's Do Tell, and really, it's so funny. I know they're not, but, we can hope that they are, but I feel like they've listened to, like, our podcast over the past couple of weeks where we're like, "These big brands are not listening to their audience," and that is what this broadcast channel is for. So, they did post that this channel is for connecting with their audience, and I can read specifically what it shares. And there's something else that I want to add to kind of this like moment with, to like Madeline's point, like what's the specific strategy around like a broadcast channel in general. So they shared that this is a space dedicated to sharing sneak peeks, behind the scenes, and do tell exclusives just for people like in our glowing community. They shared, they first shared that they're about to launch a new product. And so they actually created a Google form and they shared it in this broadcast channel, which when I joined yesterday when it started and when the first message went out, I want to say it was around 4 to 5,000 people who joined. Currently there's 12,000 members. Now granted they have hundreds of thousands of followers, so it makes sense that it's really grown quickly. So they launched a Google form in here, and it says it's straight from the Glow Labs. Sorry, and they want the first 30 people to fill out the form will get an exclusive sneak peek, and we'll get to try the product that's like coming to market. And so I really like how they're using it for like research and development and like focus grouping, almost their like social media audience. And I think that's really fun. And so they shared, honestly, I think it was minutes after they posted. Yes, 4 minutes after they posted, they had their first 30 responses, which was incredible. That
It's crazy.
it just shows like how quickly it got to people and they were like, "Oh, yes." And I'm guessing the form was really easy to fill out. And so then the only two people, you can have multiple people in your broadcast channel. So it's Glow Recipes Instagram and their CEO. And her name is Sarah.
Ugh,
And so they're the
love.
two people who are in there, or two accounts, if you will, who are in there posting and have access to post. And so Sarah came in this morning and she said, "Thank you so much for becoming like joining our new broadcast channel. So excited for this community. It's going to be for feedback and just, for kind of like hearing from the audience." So I
Mm,
love it for that aspect. I think it creates such a great way to connect with people. The only thing though is that they keep mentioning in here, and I saw this like in another creator's broadcast channel that I joined recently as well. So when you have a broadcast channel, and Madeline, I know you have one as well. So I don't know because I've never like we don't have one at any part of like Social Savvy or our brands or any of our clients at the moment. Like if I could figure out a great strategy for any of our clients, I would love to implement it. But they're looking for feedback. But you can only, as people who join, you can only read, react, and vote in poll.
mhm. That's
So
and that's my issue with like
right.
I was kind of hoping it would be like a clubhouse vibe because I love Clubhouse, and I know you like,
Mhm.
that's really
Yeah.
where, like, the Monday buzz came from, and I like, I really had a great following over there in Clubhouse, so that's where I was like, "Oh," like, that's just, like, I wish that's where the broadcast channel, I wish it kinda
Mhm.
it falls short, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Because I think over time, like, I think a company like Glow Recipe can sustain it for a while
Mhm,
because they
mhm.
probably have a lot of products coming to market and they're probably going to offer a lot of like incentives like this. So I could see it working really well. I mean, in my head, to get that constant feedback, you would just really I would think you'd wanna, like, gamify it a little bit. Like, how can you
Mm,
like, Glow Recipe can kind of give that product. But I think it gives a good platform for accepting feedback, but it's so limited because it's only one-sided. Like, you can have polls, yes, but again, we all know, like, you can kind of really work the copy in a poll or in the options to really sway in your favor. So if you're really not looking for that kind of constructive criticism or feedback, then it is going to be limited. Now, could you do what Glow Recipe did and send a Google form? Absolutely. So I like it in that sense. It doesn't wow me. I mean, it creates a cool extension of the brand to get that feedback because as we've talked about several times, brands aren't really asking their audience for any feedback or honestly listening to them. So I think it gives you that good channel to listen, but it's not like, wow, this is groundbreaking. And I think for something like this, and I know we've talked about this before, but this to me is just where sometimes Instagram just kind of misses the mark. They create new features that are like, okay, that's kind of cool, but it will not really catch on and sustain. So anyway,
mhm.
that's just on my feed. If you want to check it out, you can follow them, you can join the broadcast channel. Also too, would love to know if any of you guys who are listening, do you run any broadcast channels? Do you see any brands who are doing it really well? Like, please, like, honestly, DM us on Instagram. Like, let us know. We really want to know because this is something as two honestly, social media managers, like, we want to know how we can leverage this a little bit more. So, would love that feedback.
Yes. Oh, so good, so
Mhm.
good, and for real, if you are listening, I have to believe we have more than 3 listeners. I would love that, and I'm going to make sure to have a link in the newsletter too for you guys to DM us on Instagram. But anyways, okay. On my feed, so bringing it back, I am obsessed. So I sent this to Harmony and Jessica, I think this weekend or whatever. But what is on my feed is this campaign through um you buy Kotex. Yeah, you buy Kotex. And it is a hashtag cramp clause sweepstakes. So what they're doing, so how this even came on my feed was through I think I'm gonna butcher her last name. Ellie Ray Rallo.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
I think
But
you're right.
she okay, okay, good. But she's an influencer that I started following on TikTok, and she's just one of those content creators where I loved her on TikTok, so I instantly followed her on Instagram as well. And so you by Kotex, your social media team, your marketing team, you guys deserve a raise. This is, and can I introduce our new thing? Like our
Mhm.
new, okay, so
Yeah, yeah.
so if you guys follow Girl Boss, wait, I just butchered that. Yeah, Girl Boss,
Girl Boss Town. Yeah.
Girl Boss Town. She always does her stamp of approval. But and so just kind of like we kind of need something like that. So our new thing is gonna be managed, like hashtag managed.
Mhm. Yeah.
There will be a fun sound eventually,
To
but
come.
this
Yes, to come.
yes, but this give gets both Jessica and I's stamp of approval, our managed stamp of approval, because what it is when we're on our periods, when you're on your period, you before you're on your period, you're like booking, you're deciding you're booking all these classes, or you're just really ambitious, you're like, I'm going to work out every day, but then your first or second day of your period happens and your cramps kick in, right? Like we all like have never felt more seen than I did reading and watching this campaign. So what they're doing, I feel like I'm just like hyping it up, but it's just so
Mhm.
good. So what they're doing is with this sweepstake is you can submit to them like your reason behind canceling your workout class, and they're going to reimburse you for it. And I just think about all the times that that has happened to me. I have ClassPass. It's like a $12 fee, I think. I just get charged that $12 fee, but they get it. And so I just applaud them. Would you add
Mhm.
anything? Because I sent it to you. Like, is there anything else you would add? Like, I just and if you're listening, I think this campaign, this giveaway goes until honestly next week when this episode comes out. Like, I think it's the
Mhm.
28th. So the other reason why I love it, I think this giveaway was so well done because you see like giveaways that are done for a week because your client or the brand is just trying to get that hit of some fast followers, essentially.
Mhm.
This was clearly well thought out. They even partnered with influencers where it's a sweepstakes. So I, I
Yeah.
just I feel seen. I think every woman, millennial woman especially, feels seen
Mhm.
via this sweepstakes. And if I'm being honest, if we're talking about brand loyalty, okay, I'm throwing a question out there to you, Jessica, and to our audience.
Mhm.
Are you brand loyal to tampons?
Yeah.
And because okay, who's your brand?
So, honestly, Kotex is my go-to. Like, I have branched out because what are the there's a
There's
brand at Target. What is the brand?
Is it the cotton? Because like there's
Yeah.
some like organic ones.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Mhm.
There's that. There's is it like RAEL rail? I don't even know.
Real. No, it's
Okay.
real. I
Oh,
love,
really?
side note, love their heating pads. I have not
Mhm.
tried their tampons or pads.
Yep, yep. But I will go back to a brand. But I will if I see something else on the shelf that can like offer me like
Mhm.
a better product or it's cleaner ingredients or like
Mhm.
all of the above, then I will easily switch to that. And so I don't know. I probably wouldn't say that I'm brand loyal because I am so easy to switch if there's something new on the market that I'm like this is way better. And I think also talk about an industry that could use some innovation. So,
And I think I am making this prediction now. I do think this, like, there is going to be a lot more like
mhm.
period industry, the your hygiene, what am I trying to say?
Mhm. Yeah.
Your feminine hygienes,
Yep.
that like, and they're listening. Those are brands who I do believe are listening. And because, dare I say, like, okay, this may be TMI. I don't think so. I think we need to discuss these type of things. I want to be a cup girly.
Mhm.
I
Same.
do. I
Yeah. I
do.
too. I have high hopes. I
I
try to.
Okay, but I just came across this thing and dang it, now I need to find it. I think I saved it. And I need to find it so I can share it. But it's this, so you have the cup, but it's
Mhm.
like this new innovation where you put the cup in this thing that's kind of like a tampon,
Oh,
um
yeah.
like a tube type thing that helps you like insert it. Again, if we have some male followers, like, at least I'm helping you for like maybe your sister, for your girlfriend, for
Mhm.
your wife. But again, we need to have these conversations, even the
Mhm.
males, I believe.
Agreed.
But anyways, I think in conclusion, would love to be a cup girl. If any of our listeners too, like, you have some products like you swear by, let us know, because
Mhm.
like we just said, we're not like, while we are kind of brand loyal at the same time we can be easily influenced right now. And I think a lot of women can be because we're like, no, we don't. Like, oh my gosh, the stuff and the knowledge that we have now that I wish we
Yeah.
had as teenagers, but thankfully, like, we'll be able to pass on to our daughters, to our granddaughters,
Mhm.
to the next generations.
Yeah.
But like the stuff we were putting in our bodies, my God,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
God.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah. No, I think that's probably like, and I think it's definitely an industry that will keep like being innovated as time comes. And
Mhm.
I think there's already so many like smaller, like independent, like female owned brands like coming into this space. So I hope
Mhm.
they can keep coming in. And, but no, I think this branded hashtag like sweepstakes so good. Talk about listening to your audience and knowing what they're going through. And I think that really like plays into like that marketing team understands their audience because they
Mhm.
are their audience. And I'm not
Yes.
saying that you can't market something if you don't personally use it. I think there are a lot of instances where having that diversity in the voice of the brand is really helpful, but you really do need people who are like in that kind of like day to day of like the marketing operations to give that really good advice around wait, like, because I would love to know, like, again, this is all something we deal with. So, like, did someone like I would wanna hope that, like, it goes all the way down, it trickles down to where it's like, okay, that social media manager who had a pitch that day for their
Yes.
was like, "Wait, I need to reschedule this whole thing. I'm sitting at home with my heating pad and my chocolate," like so I just think that's where it's so funny and, so well done is how I'll end it.
Yes. Oh, yes. Okay. That also makes me I can't wait to talk more about Emily in Paris, just I'm gonna bring
Mhm.
this in. Yes, clearly dropping some Easter eggs right now. But, okay, on that note, shall we get into today's topic, which is networking?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I know if you listened to last week's episode, then you heard that we were talking about doing some in-person networking and how wanted to do an episode all around that. So I think I want to start off by saying that I think networking as an online business owner, whether you whether you are a solopreneur, you have someone who assists you, helps you, you have a team, meeting in person other people is just so great. And I think to, there's there's multiple things that come out of networking, and I think one thing that I kind of shared on our planning call, for me at least, is getting into a room with people that you are like actively striving to be is so powerful to hear their stories. And so in particular, the event that I went to last Wednesday was a wellness event. August is National Wellness Month, and it was really focused on mental wellness. And oh, and also too like some really fun like self-care things as well. There was an esthetician who was there sharing like face masks. We did like really fun like hand massages like on the trigger points like on your
Ooh.
arms. It was really fun. Obviously like mingling, talking. We all pulled random affirmation cards and we introduced ourselves and read our affirmation, which was so fun to kind of like, I don't know, just to hear someone's like story and then hear an affirmation. It was paired so beautifully. And then we did a journaling exercise where we went through a couple of journal prompts and talked about like and read aloud and shared and asked questions. And so you really got to like meet other people, other entrepreneurs who are either the same level as you or higher level, but then it got so like raw in the sense of like, okay, we're all human, right? Like we're all experiencing emotions and going through things. And so it was so interesting. And one person in particular who was someone that I've kind of seen like on the directory for this membership that I'm in for the networking group, and someone that I've wanted to connect to. But hearing her share her journaling experience and how she was going through such overwhelm It was so funny. I don't know if you've ever been in an experience where maybe you've heard someone on a podcast or guest speak or share something, and you're like, they are literally saying the words that are in my mind. And I think that's what's so powerful about meeting other people, because you come to realize, if you feel like you're alone in this entrepreneurship journey, like you're really not alone. Like you really can connect to other people, even if they're not even doing what you're doing. So in this room of 30 plus people, there was no one else in there who was a marketer. And I thought that was so interesting. Typically, I feel like there's always at least something, but it was really cool to meet people in industries that I didn't even know existed. And so I
Mm.
think that's such a powerful thing about in-person networking. What would you add to that, Madeline? And what would you say is your experience?
Ugh, that was so good. I think I first want to also preface that sometimes you need that encouragement from your friend to get you to go to a networking event. Because, for instance, so after we were done recording last week and we decided that this week's episode was me about networking. Jessica was talking about her event, and it reminded me that there was a networking event that same night here in Charleston. And after our conversation, I was like, okay, I think I need to go to this event. But I was messaging what you didn't see, what you didn't hear. I'll be sure to share our Slack conversation um, via our Instagram. But I told Jessica where I was like, "Oh, I know I should go to this, but I don't know if I'm in the mood to network." And Jessica was there to remind me. She's like, "I get it, but you know that after you go to this, you're gonna feel so much. You're gonna be so glad you did." And I was like, "You're
Mhm.
right, you're right." And I went. So mine, Jessica's event sounds like I have FOMO. I have FOMO. My event was a Bellinis and Bubbles event at the Wonder, which I feel like I've talked about here on the podcast, but it's this social club here in Charleston. And I've talked to you guys, I think, about, if not, I'm refreshing you all. But I started this women's group with my friend Bailey over a year ago with this women's group, and it would just started off as coffee chats, and the group's kind of dwindled, but we're trying to bring it back. And it was normally our meetings are in the morning, but we're trying to get more people to come, so we decided to do this Bellini and Bubbles event. But I'm not one of the other members actually was the one who kind of put it together, and I'm so glad she did, because again, there
Mhm.
was a great turnout. And similar to what you were saying, I think I was the only marketer. Well, actually,
Mhm.
that's a lie. No, one of my other friends, she's a marketing girly for a sushi company. That's besides the
Oh,
point.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, but and again, it's fun to have conversations with her too, because she is more corporate marketing,
Mhm.
and I always love running into her because she's my age and she has people under her. And so we will just discuss. I'll never forget this one time she looked to me like we were working side by side, and she was like, Maddie or Madeline, this girl just told me she couldn't finish her content calendar because she wasn't feeling inspired. I was like, what? Like, it's just like one of those things, where it's like you can't make
Mhm.
this stuff up, and it's just
Right.
kind of nice to know, where I was like, I've also experienced similar things before.
Mhm.
And so what I would add to that is, especially for online business owners, networking is just so important, because not only are you going to, you know, grow as a person, but you're it's going to help your online community as well. I think there needs to be a good healthy balance of
Mhm.
online networking, or like your online community and your offline community, and because those two worlds are going to come together eventually. And those online relationships that started offline are obviously going to be stronger. And I can attest to that because some of the best comments or people who engage with me are the people who I met offline.
Mhm.
Again, I love my online people, but, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. And the last thing I wanted to add to it as well is that, I have been to several like networking events that honestly I've left certain networking events and I felt like, okay, I didn't really get like a lot of things out of it. And I think one thing that I've learned is just being really like intentional with what you're
Mm,
going into this event to get. And I say get very like hypothetical because I think what I've learned and when I feel successful after a networking event is when I come out of it with more friends, more relationships, more connections. Now, I
mhm,
didn't say a new client, I didn't
mm,
say a new referral. I didn't say anything that's like business generating. Now, networking is business generating, but there's such a way to do it to where it doesn't feel transactional. And I think if you're in a setting where it feels like transactional or if you're trying to make it transactional, that's in my opinion when networking just doesn't work out because
mm,
that's not really what I mean, we're not really going into a place and giving our elevator pitches and passing out business cards. I mean, we're not doing any of that. Like we're going in and now they're fun. They're curated in some sort of way. Maybe there's a fun cocktail or fun
mm,
mocktail. Maybe there's a fun event. Maybe there's something like a vendor or speaker like bringing people together. And so they're typically more curated in that way. And I think it makes it less transactional. And so in my head, I like to go to a networking event and it's hard. Even this group of 30 people, we were actually at one of the members is an interior designer and has a beautiful um showroom in downtown St. Pete where she's located and so she hosted it in her beautiful space
ugh,
and even the 30 people I don't even think I spoke to half of them because again, there was a lot of events and guided things and to have real conversations with people, it's really not about a numbers game, it's about
mm-mm,
the, the quality of the conversation. So I like to really the people that I'm, if when I get there and I'm talking to people, like I like to ask questions. I'm like a natural like question asker. I don't know. like I'm always like inquisitive, so I'm always wanting to find out more about someone's business and how they got started and like questions that can kind of stem from that. So I feel like I can always keep a conversation going like I'll talk
mm,
about myself, but I'll always do it when probed. I'm not going to come in and like force anything down it. I'm more of like a let me ask a question. They will probably always mention something marketing related. And then it's like, oh, by the way, like that's why I
mhm,
online last time. So let me share more with you. So that part to me comes super natural, but it's all about connecting with people. I know last week we talked about email etiquette and following up. I like to follow up with people with just having that connection because again, I think sometimes life gets so hectic and fast paced. And again, it always feels transactional. And I like to just send a follow up and hey, like, it was great meeting you. We talked about XYZ. If they have a physical location or if they have a product or a service I want to try, I'm letting them know like kind of my intentions around that. And then just kind of extending my contact info that I'm always down to meet again in person, always down to like connect. And that is where like a real like relationship comes from. And 9 times out of 10, when you go into a networking event with that mindset, you start that relationship with that mindset as well, it will turn into a client or they'll refer
mhm.
you to someone or, it will just become so much more natural. And I think that's where it's really successful.
I wanna add to that too about the questions because the one of the members who put this all together, how the idea came about, she's a mom, and I will say
Mhm.
the group has a lot more moms. I'm obviously not a mom, but in one of our previous coffee chats, we were talking about how, and I think this topic has kind of come up a lot lately, where the first question you typically ask at a networking or event, or just in general, when you're meeting somebody new, you ask them, "Oh, what do you do for a living?"
Mhm.
And I feel like more recently we're trying to get away from that because as women too, we don't want to we know we're not our careers. And
Mhm.
so some questions that so with that being said, we are like, okay, let's what are some other questions we can start to ask one another? And some that came up were, what are your hobbies?
Mhm.
What do you like to do in your free time?
Yeah.
Granted, typically it does relate to what you do, but one of the women that I met at this event, what she's a personal trainer. So that wasn't my first question, but one of the members, like, she's not a member at the Wonder. She, like, one of the members brought her, and the member who brought her, she's lost 60 plus pounds. She looks amazing. And that was the first
Mhm.
thing I was like, you look great. And she was like, this girl right here. And so obviously we got on the topic, but the
Mhm.
workout that she does is a very different. So we were talking about it, and she was like, you should come in, like, do a free session with me. And it just that's why I love networking too, because yes, it's still related back to careers, but
Mhm.
I love networking with moms too, because I'm not a mom yet, but I love especially networking with working moms because
Mhm. Yeah.
I just know that that will be me one day. And so I kind of it, like you said in the very beginning, or maybe I'm now confusing. I think maybe this was in our planning call, but it's worth mentioning is you need to be in the room of people you look up to and aspire to be, that you want a seat at their table. And
Mhm.
so these moms who are having these successful businesses while also being moms and wives, I'm just like, I want to be like, like what? And granted, most of them will be like, I'm figuring it out. We're all figuring it out. But
Mhm.
I just applaud them because I'm like, I know that's not easy.
Yeah.
So sorry if
Yeah.
that was totally
No,
mean,
no, no. No,
but
I like that. No, I think that was perfect. And I think it's, yeah, you can always meet really cool people. And I think sometimes, to Madeline's point, it can be outside of that professional realm. It's probably always going to be brought back into that in
mhm,
some way or another. But yeah, just having like real conversations with people. And I know, you know, you can network in person, you can network on social media. I mean, like Madeline and I networked on Instagram and that's how we met. So, I mean, you can really like you can network anywhere. It's just really putting out that effort. I really hope that by you doing that, you get what you're looking for. You get that
mhm,
connection, you get that friend, you get that Instagram bestie. You get what you're looking for. Not everyone is reciprocal in terms of networking and just relationship marketing, and I because I think that's like so interchangeable, and that's just who they are. So it's nothing to do with kind of what you're doing. I've learned that I'm sure Madeline can attest to this as well. Whether it's in person or heck online, you reach out to someone and sometimes they don't reply, they don't get back to you, they leave you unread, and sometimes you have a conversation with someone in person and you're like, wow, you're very uninterested in everything I'm saying, I'm going to close this up and just walk away. So I mean, I've been in several settings like in that before, and I think that's just people who aren't reciprocal in like relationship marketing or just honestly in conversations. So
mhm.
it's definitely, don't feel down about that by any means. But if you're an online business owner, if you just started out, maybe if you've been in business for a few years, really recommend to network either in person or online to find your people. And honestly, I think that's where I'll leave my thoughts at.
Same, mic drop.
Yep. Yep. We're done. Okay. Bye. No, I'm just kidding. Still have to close out. But yeah, I hope that's helpful. I think too, last thing before we close out, if there's any look out for networking in your area or in your town, or look out for conferences that you want to go to that are either in your industry and marketing or maybe in the niche that you work with. There are so many different conferences and events and things going on that are either local, or virtual, or you could travel to if you have those means too. But yeah, that's a little homework assignment for all of you guys. So I'd love for you to kind of figure out what you can do to go to something, whether it be a virtual or in person networking event. And I promise that's my final mic drop.
Okay, well, on that note, I guess I will close us out. For next week's episode, though, I do want to hint at it, and
Mhm.
well, now I'm like, wait, we did switch it. Wait, is next
Okay,
week?
so next week's politics.
Oh, okay,
Is
okay.
it okay?
I was about to be, it's Emily in Paris. I lied. Okay. Next
Coming up,
week,
though, coming up.
dun 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 dun. No, I'm just kidding. We're gonna make next week's episode fun. We know us mentioning politics, like you like you're holding your breath.
Mhm,
I'm not gonna lie, we probably will be too a little bit, but at the same time, we're gonna come at this as Switzerland.
mhm,
We are not trying to get political at all, but we understand that you may have clients who want to, feel they need to, and maybe you disagree.
mhm,
Maybe you agree. Like, but that is what we're going to be addressing next week. So that, especially if you're new to the game, this is like your first year as a social media marketer, that you have the tools and the resources to come at this topic essentially. So
mhm.
that is what we will be discussing next week. And on that note, if you enjoyed this episode, we would love it if you wrote us a review wherever you're listening to the podcast. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and please, because that at least lets me know that we have a pulse on this, that it's not just our family and friends. Um, then be sure to join our free Facebook group, and I think and be sure to subscribe to our newsletter. That's amazing and wonderful and deserves all the awards in my humble opinion. But yeah, thank you for tuning in today, and we will catch you on the airwaves next week.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you haven't already, hit that follow button, and if you really love us, be sure to subscribe wherever you are listening from.
And if you want to be one of our online besties, you can shoot us a DM over at #managed on Instagram and let us know what your biggest takeaway was from this episode. Or, you could also share all your deepest, darkest secrets. Kidding. But we mean it when we say you can shoot us a DM. We love building real, authentic relationships with you.